Hello all, very good morning. Thanks for joining the session. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen and then let us see course roadmap, course structure, course plan, and then the job opportunities with this DevOps with AWS course. Job scope, job roles, all these things let us discuss during our demos. So today is the demo 1. So date 28 July 2022. The course is DevOps with AWS. So that means whatever the DevOps activities we are doing, right, we will do. I will explain what the DevOps activities that we will do. I will explain. But whatever the DevOps activities we will do, those activities we will do on the AWS cloud. So that is the reason the course has been named as DevOps with AWS. And course duration, course duration is 4 months. Earlier batch I said 3 months, but it was not completed in 3 months. It is still continuing. So that is the reason to complete this DevOps with AWS. This time, given the time as like 4 months. So 4 months will take minimum will take, because we will do a industry standard applications automation using this DevOps. So industry standard applications, we will do an automation using this DevOps with the AWS. So that itself causes to learn a lot of DevOps tools to practice, and then to make them to be include to deploy the or automate the industry standard applications. Don't worry, I believe you don't know anything about the DevOps. That is what my mindset. So whoever are attending now, you don't know anything. You are just now passed out from the college is what I'm assuming. That is what my mindset. So with that, I will take this course to the proficient level. So from the ground level or bare zero, from the ground level or the bare zero to professional level, I'll take you to the professional level through this course. So for that, minimum 4 months is required for me. And then one moment, guys. Sorry. And then fee is 12K INR. Fee is 12K INR. With this fees, what you will get is the recorded videos. Recorded videos which are valid for 8 months. That means your course is 4 months, and plus 4 months the recordings will be valid. This I will come back. 6 to 8 months for sure will be available, the recorded videos. And then you will get a soft copy of the material. You will get the soft copy of the material. So the soft copy of the material is like this. So you'll get all these notes. So all these notes you'll get for AWS, for Linux, and all these notes as a PDF and as a Word document you will get through the Google Classroom. So the documents I will maintain in the Google Classroom like this. For example, if you can see this DevOps one. So here is the documents, daily worksheets, and our script files, interview guidance sessions, whatever we're gonna do. So those are all we will maintain in this classroom. And the Telegram link also will be created for you, and then keep in this classroom so that you can join here and then have a direct communication with me. Any questions anytime, if you got anything, you just ping me in this Telegram. That is the communication channel between you and me. And how you will be joined here? So you will be joined here through the link, whatever I have to send, or I will add your email address, so that you will get one confirmation email. As soon as you will confirm your email, then you will be added here as a student to access the daily classwork. So recordings will be uploaded to directly your drive, like Gmail drive. Better while you are registering, give the Gmail, because the team is easily can upload the videos to your Gmail drive, and then the soft copy of the material you will get it using the Google Classroom. So this I'm just explaining how the course has been planned and then how it will be executed. Then I'll go to the course content section. Just give me a moment of time. Okay, soft copy of the material will be provided, and this soft copy of the material will be downloadable, right? And then the prerequisite for this course to learn is the Linux. Linux is the prerequisite. Honestly speaking, Linux required to be know, but this Linux also we will explain. We will first start with the Linux. The guys who don't know the Linux, don't worry. So we can say prerequisite is nothing, but in reality, this is not correct. We required the Linux as a prerequisite, but this Linux, I'll explain the Linux to start the DevOps within 3 weeks. So 3 weeks will spent on the understanding this Linux. 3 weeks we will spend on understanding the Linux. And once you got the Linux understanding, then we will start our DevOps tools usage. Day-to-day life, you will use the Linux operating system only. So going forward, like shell scripting and other information, I'll explain what to be covered in the Linux and all. But going forward, as our day-to-day work will be on the Linux machines only. So within these 4 months, you will be get familiarized well on this Linux, because it is our day-to-day activity. On Linux, we will work day to day. So, you will be get familiarized within this 4 months. Very good professional experience you will get on the Linux in this 4 months, like how to write the shell scripting and all. If you can see, I will showcase you one simple shell scripting, how it is easy. See this? This is a simple shell scripting file. No coding, nothing. No coding, nothing. Just it is a information that we are verbally writing here, right? Nothing, no coding, just a syntax. Just we need to just follow a syntax, no coding. So prerequisite is Linux, but this Linux I will explain yeah, 3 weeks, initial 3 weeks. I'll explain the Linux, and then we will start this DevOps tools execution, right? So that is about this prerequisite. And also there is one more note. No coding, no coding will be there. No coding will be there. No programming language not required. No programming language, meaning no need to, no need to have any programming language knowledge. Nothing. No need to have any programming language. So the specialty of the DevOps is what, DevOps can be learned by anyone. Like DevOps can be learned by the non-technical persons. For example, uh, a few of the members will work in the non-technical area, like as a BPOs, or maybe like as one sales executives, maybe like as some medical reps, or maybe whatever your profession is currently. But if you would like to come to the IT professional, IT career, then the best course that you can start with is the DevOps, because this is a very easy course to learn. Only we will have the tools, and that tools also we will configure mostly. The configurations we will use mostly using these tools, right? So prerequisite is Linux, but don't worry, that Linux also we will cover. So I'm writing here no prerequisite, no prerequisites, but this is not the right word. I'm saying prerequisite is required. Prerequisite is Linux. So no prerequisites, but Linux is required. So just let me write it. So what you will do, did you uh, do you know what you will do throughout this DevOps with AWS session? Let me show you something here. See this? This is the AWS console in the Mumbai region. I'm just opening the instances. Just to see these instances, what you are able to observe. See these instances, what you are able to observe. Kubernetes master, Kubernetes worker, Kubernetes worker 2, Sonar Cube, Jenkins master, Jenkins worker, Docker, right? And then what? ELK server, and then Ansible engine, Ansible controller server, and then the uh, EKSTL machine, and then the Linux machine, Linux practice machine, and then the JFrog artifactory. What do you understand from this one? I'm able to see someone is asking the question like, after completion of this course, shall we put 2 to 3 years of experience? Not only 2 to 3 years of experience. If your certificates support, you can show 6 years, 7 years experience as well. Minimum 5 years you can showcase if your certificate supports you. It is not an overconfidence, but this is what my experience I have seen in real time. The guys with the 5 plus years, 6 plus years, how much knowledge they have right now in the industry on the DevOps tools with the AWS cloud. Based on that, I'm confidently saying the course, whatever you will, get this DevOps with AWS after completion of it. If you thoroughly follow me, if you practice, if you practice along with the classes I'm saying, your confidence level is an equivalent to 5 years experience engineer confidence level, because the work we do here is exactly equivalent to your real time. So when you go to your real work, you never feel as you are in the real environment. You never sorry, you never feel like, as you are not in real environment. When you go to your workplace, you will feel, oh, these are all the things I already know because I already have done. So we gonna do throughout this session, we gonna do the 5 projects. Those 5 projects are 5 different versatile, meaning 5 different languages, 5 different technologies, 5 different applications. So your exposure will be on. Tomorrow, maybe you went to some startup company, they are using the Node.js as their backend server, and then the AngularJS as their front end. Assume the case. And you need to automate that application using the DevOps activities. Now you need to know how the Node.js is. You need to know how the Angular is, isn't it? So, but once you practice this course, that you will already do here, so it is very easier for you when you go to the real environment. And just believe me, most of the projects will be on Java. 60% of the projects, most of the projects, 60% of the projects are on Java. and rest of the 40% are in different technical stack. So you guys have to know how to automate the Java projects. And mostly nowadays, everyone is following the microservices architecture. So when the microservices architecture is there, the interviewers, nowadays the interviewers are asking what are microservices and how you will automate the microservices deployment using the DevOps activities. So this is the famous question that the interviewers are asking. If you can see this, if you can see this, the diagram, right? So this is one uh, pipeline you have to create for the UX or UI team, and there is accounts microservice, there is a cards microservice, loans microservice, and then UI application. Each and every microservice you have to write one pipeline, right? And then you have to automate the this microservices deployment. Maybe each and every microservices may be connecting to different databases. So you have to know how to configure this pipeline to be automate the each and every microservice. So during our course, during our course, I'll explain what are the microservices, the concept of microservices, and also we will deploy the microservices. We will automate the microservices. If you can see this department service, doctor service, you can see here, na? These are all, these two are microservices. So these two microservices we will deploy so that you will get an idea how to deploy or how to automate the microservices as right. So yeah, I'll answer all your questions, folks. I'll answer all your questions. Just let me focus on what I would like to convey. Then definitely I will spend a very good enough time to read your chat messages and then answer your questions. Huh? Right. So no need to learn any programming language. The DevOps engineers no need to know any programming language. I understood your question, sir. You said Node.js application we need to automate, AngularJS application we need to automate, Java application we need to automate. So do we need to learn all these technologies? No, it is not possible and even not required. Then how you will automate it? How you will automate the Node.js without knowing the Node.js, how you will automate the Java projects without knowing the Java project, how you will automate the Angular without knowing the Angular, right? How you will do that? So that is what we will see here. No required. So with the help of the developer, with the help of the developer, you will do the automation of such projects. That is the reason DevOps is a culture. DevOps is a culture of collaborating, culture of collaborating with the various teams. What is DevOps? DevOps is a culture of culture of establishing the collaboration with various teams. That means what? Being a DevOps engineer, you will go to developer, talk to him, take the help from him, you sit together and then complete this pipeline, right? Complete this DevOps CI/CD pipeline. Again, I will explain what is CI, what is CD, what is pipeline. All these things I will explain. But what I'm saying is, you will, you will, I will use a word here called deploy. So just assume here deploy meaning like you went to Play Store, right? In your mobile, you will go to Play Store and then type for a application. Like for example, if you want to see the your PF balance, you will type EPF application and then you will get the application in your Play Store, isn't it? Assume that is what the deployment already deployed, already available for you, correct? So you guys also have to deploy the various types of projects automatically. Automation you have to do. So how we need to do automation, how we will do and all, I'll explain. Okay, so how, that is what our course actually. Right. Now, Linux 3 weeks I spent, right? Linux plus shell scripting will come here. So shell scripting is required, but that shell scripting also how to write it is very easy. Any non IT background guy also can easily write this shell script. I'll make sure you guys will have a proper understanding on this. Don't worry about it, but shell scripting is required because if you can see we will write the shell scripts. If you can, I just have shown, right, this jfrog.sh, this is a shell script. So what is this lines, how many lines see this? We can write a so big shell script file as well, and a small scripts files as well, and then execute them, but scripting is required. So don't panic. Scripting, how do we write the script files and all, I'll explain. But my intention is not to really panic you, but my intention is to make sure that you guys have to realize what exactly we will do in real time. It is not like hello world applications, Tata bye bye applications. No, enterprise applications, complex applications we will deploy in our throughout DevOps course with the AWS, right? Probably you got some primary understanding of what we will do. However, now no coding is required. No coding is required. No need to have any programming language. No need to have any programming language, and then no need to have any coding experience as well, right? So required only the Linux, only Linux with shell scripting is required. This is also we will spend 3 weeks of good enough time to go with the DevOps with AWS sessions. And these 3 weeks, entire Linux will be completed? No, it is not completed. But these 3 weeks, the basics of the Linux is completed to start our DevOps sessions. And while we are working with our DevOps tools in our day-to-day time, this DevOps with AWS complete infrastructure is on the Linux only. So you will learn the Linux concepts while we are working. I'll explain what Linux concept we will use where and then how to use and all. While working, you will learn it. That is more important for us, right? So this is about the course structure and all. So soft copy of the material will be given, and experience level, that's up to you. I said minimum 5 years, maximum 5 years, or minimum 5 years I can say as per my experience and then my confidence. But I can say by considering you guys, so maximum 5 years you can show. You can put up, but your document should have to be support properly, genuinely, isn't it? So then you will, meaning what I mean to say is that DevOps course, whatever you're gonna learn here, will give you an equivalent knowledge of a 5 years experience guy who is working on the DevOps, right? However, now what is the roadmap? What is the roadmap for learning this DevOps with AWS course within this 4 months? Okay, for other batches, I started with the DevOps. I started with the DevOps for other batches, but for this batch, I will start with the AWS. Why I have changed the pattern? I'll explain. 5 years of experience, knowledge. Please don't misunderstand it. 5 years of experience, knowledge. Knowledge is different. Knowledge is different. Experience is different. Implementation is different. So with this course, you will get a knowledge equivalent to a guy who is having the 5 years of experience. Assume who is started his career on DevOps in 2017 to till now, how much knowledge or experience he will have in the real time. That much of knowledge also you will get if you properly follow me in this course, is what my intention. Got it? Huh? Don't misunderstand it. There is a lot of difference. Yes, yes. However, now let us see the roadmap, how we will start it. So earlier I was started with the DevOps tools, But now I will start first with the AWS, and then let us start with the DevOps tools. Why? Why you are doing like this, sir? Why you are doing like this, right? So a couple of issues we were faced if we will start DevOps first and then the AWS last. What are the couple of issues? Okay. Number one is what? While you are working with these DevOps tools, you need the EC2 instances. You need the AWS EC2 missions, EC2 instances. So earlier what I did actually, I just have explained the EC2, what is EC2, how to access the missions and all. And then directly taken the EC2 instances. Then in the AWS session, I was explained very in-depth about this EC2 instances, right? Again, it is a rework for me. And also the guys have only focused on the EC2 instances. But when we are learning the EC2 instances, it is very important to learn the concept of VPC. It is important to learn the concept of the static IPs, static IP, and it is important to learn the concept of the networking, and it is important to learn the concept of the security. So these are the four major areas that you have to know, to utilize this EC2, to use this EC2 instances. So earlier what happened, I just have explained about how to take the EC2 instances. These are the machines, Linux machines where we will work. I just have explained them to take this. But uh, uh, but what happened, we were faced one issue. um, I will show you what we gonna do this throughout this session. So do you see this architecture? This is the exact architecture that we're gonna achieve throughout of these sessions, throughout of this course. Here, if you can see, I will explain later on time. Maybe in the coming up sessions, I will explain entire this flow. As it is very beginning class, I am not touching this architecture, but I am explaining why I am starting with the AWS first. Just one simple problem what we have faced is I will explain. So this JFrog Artifactory, assume this is one server. You just assume. For now, you just assume this is one server which contains some file, and this is one another server which need to talk to this server and then get the file download here. That is the use case. So this is a Docker server. This is a some server which having some files, some ABC files or XYZ files, some file it have. So these files we need to download to this machine. Then what we used some commands. Let me showcase you that command. So if you can scroll down, you can see this command. Uh, just let me, yes, you can see this wget command. And here we have given the URL. This URL contains what? This IP address. Unfortunately, what will happen, when the machine will be stopped, this machine when we will stop, for example, I was started this machine, I got this IP address 5270.216.151. I got the IP address. Then I configured this machine with the IP address of this machine to talk to this JFrog Artifactory machine and then get the files to the Docker machine. Assume the case, the error or the issues that we got, I'm explaining. So I just have configured the IP address of this JFrog Artifactory machine here, and then the Docker server went to it and then downloaded the files. Everything is good. The file got downloaded onto here. Perfect. But what happened, I just restarted this JFrog Artifactory machine. Once I restarted, what happened? The public IP address, earlier what I got like 52.70 is now changed. Every time when we restart the EC2 machines, the public IP address will change. Due to the public IP address changed, and then the changed public IP address was not configured here, the automation is failing. Automation is failing. Then what we have to do? We have to go to Docker machine, update the IP address of this JFrog Artifactory machine in the Docker machine. Then it will start work. But like this, how many times we have to do? Maybe this machine get stopped and then started many number of times. Maybe at least once in a week we will do the maintenance for the machines. So if these get restarted, then again we have to do here the configuration, which is a problem. So to solve this problem, we have to use the static IP. So if we use a static IP, when the public IP will be restarted and then changed, the static IP will never change. So we can configure static IP here. With that static IP, we can talk to this JFrog Artifactory. Now, no matter how many times it will get restarted, we have the static IP here, which will be still able to talk to this Artifactory machine. Now, where you will get the knowledge of this static IP? In AWS. So that is the reason I am now would like to start with AWS. Then after completion of the AWS, we'll go for this DevOps sessions. Meaning, because we required the AWS cloud services to work using this DevOps technologies, or DevOps is not a technology, my bad, to work with the DevOps tools. DevOps is not a programming language. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is not a programming language. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is not a framework. What is DevOps then? DevOps is a culture. DevOps is a culture. For example, you are in your apartment. How you will be in your apartment? You will be always mingle with your neighbors, right? The flat, you will be associate as a member in the flat, and then you will be always in a collaboration with them. If they want to conduct any festival, or if they can't want to conduct any occasion, then you will be also part of it, right? Because the collaboration established between you and your neighbors in your apartment. So that is what you established it. The collaboration is what you have established, so that your smoothly your day-to-day activities will go very smooth. Similarly, DevOps is also a culture. So that culture we will establish with the different teams in our organizations, like development team, testing team, network team, cloud team. With all these teams, we will collaborate and then make the work to be done very smooth. That means you are not a manager. Don't be in an assumption like, I know, execute the work to be done in a smooth, meaning you are the manager. No, what I mean to say is you're gonna configure the pipelines. That pipelines required a various technology, a various peoples to be associated with you to execute it very smoothly. So that is what the DevOps is. It is not a technology. It is not a programming language. It is not a framework. You don't need to write, lines of code, tons of code. You don't need to spend, months of time in learning the one programming language. No, it is not a programming language first. It is the culture that we will establish with our other teammates or other teams. However, these DevOps activities. So now I believe you might got one confusion. Sir, DevOps is okay, but what we will do in this DevOps? What we will do in this DevOps? Assume application. I will write a single word: applications automations. Applications automation through the CI/CD pipeline, through the CI/CD pipelines. Single word is what you will do. But to understand the single word, we need a lot of discussion. I'll come to that point. So, but to work or to establish this culture and to I'll come to that point. What is pipeline? What is CI/CD? What is the application? What is automation? I'll come to that point. I'll come to that point. But we will, being a DevOps engineer, you will set up the CI/CD pipeline. That means, in a glance, this is what you will do. The code will be in the repository, source code repository like Git. So this is what our source code repository. If you can see, the code is here. So this is a Node.js application, and this is a static website. This is a simple website, right? So likewise, the this is called as a source code repository. So the source code repository will have the source code, isn't it? So this is that repository. And the source code repository will be used by the developers. So developers will push the code or keep their code in this repository. So developers will keep their code in this repository. Now what we need to do, when the developer is keeping the code in this repository, then you have to get immediately that code and then deploy it. Deploy it meaning making it available for the usage by the customers. For example, we are using Facebook, we are using Gmail, right? So when we type gmail.com, then whatever the feature implemented, that feature should have to become. Feature meaning what? Functionality. Login is one feature. You are creating your Gmail account, right? That is, creation of an account is one feature. You will compose an email, right? Composing any email is one feature. You will send an email, sending email one feature. Inbox is another feature, right? Sent items is another feature. Drafts is another feature. Outbox is another feature. So these are all the features. We called them as a features. For example, when I log into the Gmail, now I got the inbox. So the developers are working on the sent items part. So developer, when done the coding for the sent items and then updated the code in the repository, then immediately your pipeline should have to take that sent items code and then make it to be available for a customer. So when the customer again will be logged in with the gmail.com, this time he has to see the sent items. What happened? Immediately you have done some automation, you have done some setup to make everything available for the customer immediately once after its development is completed. That is the beauty of the CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. But slowly I will explain this continuous integration, continuous deployment. Now what is pipeline? See, the pipeline, as soon as the code is put into this repository, we have taken and then deployed it. So pipeline is a step by step sequential flow of execution of the source code build from the source code repository to the deployment servers. I think you might not understand this definition at this moment. It is very tough even to understand at this moment. Okay, so slowly you will understand what is pipeline, what is this architecture, what is Docker, what is Kubernetes, what is container registry, what is Ansible, what is Jenkins, what is JFrog, Nexus, SonarQube, Maven, Git. What are all these? So these you will understand going forward slowly. So being your DevOps, being your DevOps course, you will learn all these tools and you will learn the work with all these tools. So these are all now called as the DevOps tools. So what you will work? What are the DevOps tools that you will work? The DevOps tool that you will work is the Git and GitHub. Sir, we don't know what is it. Nothing. You no need to know anything. Just to come with the empty mind and then learn all these things slowly. So Git and then GitHub you will learn. And then what? There is a tool called the Maven. There is a tool called the Jenkins. There is a tool called the SonarQube. And there is a tool called the JFrog. And then the Nexus. There is a tool called the Docker, and there is a tool called the Ansible. There is a tool called the Ansible, and there is a tool called the mm, Kubernetes, and there is a tool called the ELK, and there is a tool called the uh, Grafana. Grafana. So these are all the tools that you will learn during your DevOps course. So these are all the tools that you will learn during your DevOps course. And using all these tools, what you will do? You will configure the CI/CD pipeline to automate the deployment process, or automate the application available to the customers. You will use all these tools, CI/CD pipeline tools, CI/CD pipeline tools we will use, and then we will create a CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline. We will create this. Got it? Huh? So these are all the tools that you need to learn. Correct. You will learn. You will learn all these things. Because you are now started very basic. Someone is asking the question, changing the static IP, how the static IP will be changed and all. You came here to learn those concepts only, isn't it? So how the Docker machine will be configured with the static IP? What is the need of it? What is the need of it is, you came here to learn the need of it. So that means, what I mean to say is, from the Docker machine, this jfrog.ssh script will be executed. Jfrog.sh script will be executed from the Docker machine. So the Docker machine, here in this machine, you will execute the script to talk to this Artifactory and then download the files from here. So when the IP address is changed here, don't you need to change the IP address in the script here? We have to change. So in order to avoid every time changes, we have to use the static IPs. So I'll explain what is static IP. I will how to configure and all. Right? We must have to make the IP static in JFrog. That what I'm saying is, JFrog machine we will configure with the static IP, and that static IP we will use in the Docker is what my meaning. So we have to configure the JFrog Artifactory machine with the static IP. That static IP we have to use in this Docker mission. So how to create the static IP, how to make the IP as a static for the JFrog machine is what we will learn. But the static IP, once it got configured here, we will use that static IP in the Docker SSH file to talk to it. Okay, so this entire flow you will understand in coming up sessions. It is very, very basic day one now, so I don't want to confuse you by saying all this Latin language. However, now the DevOps tools, Git, GitHub, Maven, Jenkins, SonarQube, JFrog, Docker, Ansible, Kubernetes, ELK, Grafana. So these are all the tools, probably 9 or 10 tools, right? So these are all the tools that you will learn as part of your DevOps course, and you will configure this entire pipeline architecture. But one interesting point is what to configure this entire architecture, we have to use the support matrix, meaning we have to use the Linux machines. So how those Linux machines we have to take? So this is the Linux machines support matrix. So this is like this, we have to take the Linux machines. For Jenkins, we have to take 2 Linux machines. For SonarQube, we have to take 1 Linux machine, which is of RAM 4 GB and CPU to CPU minimum core, and Ubuntu operating system, and whose cost is $0.049 per hour. And next, Docker, we need to take one more EC2 machine. And to Ansible setup, we need to take one more machine. And for the Kubernetes setup, we need to take this Kubernetes master along with the Kubernetes worker 1, worker 2, and one storage server. So these are all the EC2 instances that we will take to configure this entire pipeline. Whatever the pipeline I have shown you, right? Entire pipeline meaning all the tools whatever you have learned, those tools you will put together to automate the application deployment process. That means making it available for the customers. So we will configure this entire pipeline using those tools. But to configure this entire pipeline, we require a cloud, because we will make this application available in the cloud, right, for the end customers. So usually in real time. So you need to know the cloud, how to work with the cloud. That is the reason before starting learning these DevOps tools, we will first start our AWS services. Okay, so we will first start our AWS services. And in the AWS services, I'll explain the course content, whatever we will cover. So once after we're done with these AWS services, then we'll come to this DevOps tools. So by that time, you know very well about the cloud, you know very well about the services, you know very well about the EC2 machines and all, so that it is very easier for us to configure these tools as a pipeline to automate the application deployment. That means to automate the application availability to the customers, right? Right. So, okay. So now what is there inside this AWS? So what you will learn inside this AWS? So let me open the AWS course content. In AWS course content, okay, first of all, I have seen in lot of demos, the people will ask about the certifications. So can we get a certified after this AWS sessions attended? Yes, so certifications are at the various levels. First of all, what certification we are eligible for or we are looking for? Okay, so here are the various certifications. AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, AWS Certified Solutions Architect, SysOps Administrator, and then the Certified Developer Associate, and the DevOps Engineer Professional, right? So these are all the various certifications level. So what certification we have to do, right? So foundational certification, 6 months, whoever having the knowledge on the AWS cloud and industry knowledge. So whoever having a 6 months of fundamental AWS cloud and then industry knowledge, they can get this AWS certification, AWS cloud practitioner certification. They can write the exam for this AWS cloud practitioner. So with this course content, whatever we will cover here, you will be able to crack this AWS Cloud Practitioner exam as well as this AWS Associate exams. But associate exams required the one programming language experience or knowledge. So if you can see this associate developer or associate architect or sysops administrator, at least for this developer, one programming language is required. So what else is suitable certification for you? DevOps engineer. So to do this DevOps engineer certification, 2 years of experience designing, operating, and troubleshooting solutions using the AWS cloud. So AWS cloud practitioner certification, if you have, then only you will be eligible to write this DevOps engineer certification. So AWS is offering around a 240 plus services for us. Out of those 240 plus services, the exam pattern is given They also have given a detailed pattern about the examination, like DevOps engineer professional. If I just click on it, they have given the cheat sheets, and then exam pricing is 300 USD dollars, and then you can see the exam guide and then the sample questions. So if you can see the exam guide, so this is how the exam will be. So multiple choice questions, multiple responses you have to give, and this is what the domain they will ask the questions. Here, if you can see, majority is given for the SDLC automation. That means whatever we do here, this automation, majority of the questions they will ask on this automation. And then configuration management and infrastructure as code, 19%, a very huge scope is given for it. So for this infrastructure as a code, we required to understand, or we required to have the experience or knowledge on this cloud formation. So if we can go here, cloud formation. So cloud formation plus Terraform. Terraform is out of the scope, but cloud formation experience is required. So cloud formation is we are covering cloud formation, right? So if you can see, yeah, cloud formation is what we are covering to automate. So entire complete knowledge, complete experience or knowledge on this cloud formation is required, right? So that is again given a 19 percentage weightage. So monitoring and then logging, for that we will use this CloudWatch. So Amazon CloudWatch, and then other also there. But in this CloudWatch, there are lots are there. So whatever we have covered is good enough. So what I mean to say is, whatever the AWS services that I have drafted here, these are all common for the cloud practitioner exam plus the DevOps engineer exam. But after this course, you have to practice the exam dumps, exam kits. So exam kits are providing by the various third party vendors, not vendors, they are saying the cloud experts actually. So if we can purchase the exam kits from there, then if you practice them very well, then definitely you will be crack the certification after this course. Got it right, what I'm saying? So you must have to practice the dumps. You must have to practice the dumps. So without practicing the dumps or examination model kits, it is highly a little impossible or little tough for us to get the certification, because 300 USD dollars is charging for one exam. Nearly 300 means 300 into 80, consider 25,000 around, right? And this 25,000, I believe only one time, and you can't appear again one more time if you fail in this exam. So maybe that instruction they might have already given here. However, this is about the examination certification pattern and all. Right, right. So this all the services. First, let me go and then explain you what are all these services. So these are all the services will take around 45 days of time. So did we able to cover? Yes, we will be able to cover these all the things. What is there in these services? These services are just configurations. For example, for example, there is a load balancer. You are not doing any coding, right? It is just a configuration. For example, um, we have to set up some load balancer. Assume you will, what you will do, you will go here, click on this load balancers, and then you will create a load balancer. Then if you have the very good knowledge on what load balancer to be take where, or what load balancer will work how, if you have that knowledge, configuring this load balance is just a minutes of task, na? Minutes of task. Only understanding the concept will take little time, but practicing or configuring the concept won't take the time. So that is the reason within 45 days, whatever the course content I am showcasing here, that can be easily covered. Okay, fine. So what we will do in our AWS course content, first we will understand what is cloud and why we we are going for this cloud, and before cloud what are all the models we have. Like before cloud, this cloud started using very well since long time, but the most of the companies started using this cloud since 2015, 16, 17, from that era only. Mostly from 2017, lot of changes happened in the IT industries. Lot of changes. Microservices architecture has been introduced. With the microservices architecture, the entire IT world has been changed. So there is a lot of boom got for this cloud cloud services with the just introduction of this microservices architecture. However, 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 what is the cloud and what is the need of going to this cloud? And before this cloud, how the applications will be maintained or how the applications will be managed. There were the on-premise servers, there was the data centers, there were the did you remember in the maybe if any one of you guys are already like 2012, 13, that era, if you go to any institute, you might have seen a big server there, right? You might have seen a big server there. Are they maintain one server room separately, isn't it? But nowadays, no need to maintain such huge servers. No need to waste our office space to maintain that server. No need to purchase one separate AC to cool that servers. No, not required. Nowadays, everything we can keep in our cloud. But let us understand how we migrated to cloud, meaning how we are moving to the cloud. What is the things that forces us to move to the cloud? So let us understand first on-premise infrastructure. Then let us understand the data centers. Then let us understand the cloud concept. So this is what we will discuss during this cloud computing session. Then we'll discuss about the uh, introduction to AWS. So now by this section one, we got a clear understanding on cloud computing. What is cloud computing? And before the cloud like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or DigitalOcean, or Alibaba, or Heroku, or any other clouds, before any other clouds, how the situation was and how the applications were being maintained. So you will get to know here clearly. Now, now if you got a clear understanding of the cloud computing, then we will go for choosing one cloud, that is AWS. Why we will choose this one cloud? There is a lot of discussion we will use. Already 52 percentage of the market share has been occupied by this AWS. 52 percentage of the market share in the sense what? Overall world, 52 overall the world, if the 100 companies are there, 52 companies were already using this AWS as per the calculations in the 2021, as per the reports in the 2021. Maybe by the reports of the 2022, maybe that grown to 55 percentage, 56 percentage probably. So what advantage we will get if the AWS will be used by the most of the companies? Then they will look for the AWS resources, isn't it? Who have the experience on the AWS, they will explicitly look up for those guys only. Meaning majority of the companies, if they use AWS, majority of the companies will look for the AWS engineers. So jobs will be more for us. That is the reason we have to go with this AWS than the Azure and then than the GCP. So after AWS, the most using cloud is the GCP, Google Cloud Platform. And in future, it may be a toughest competitor for the AWS as well. So if you are interested, after completion of AWS, if you would like to add one more cloud to your resume, go for GCP. Definitely down the line in 2 to 3 years, GCP will get a very good boom. for sure. However, so we will discuss about what is AWS, why we need to go for AWS, and what are all the other competitors for AWS. So how to subscribe for an AWS as a business user, as a personal user, as an organization, how we will subscribe. Always we will subscribe as a personal user because you are learning the course, right? So you will be subscribed as a personal user because you will practice or you will use the AWS for your personal use. And then what is the free tier usage and how to create the free tier and how to get this, how to, what are the certification models, what are the certifications available, how to get it, all those things, and the list of services given by AWS, all those things let us discuss in this section. So by this way you will get a clear understanding of AWS plus with its competitors, and even compared to competitors why we are going for this AWS is what you came to know. Okay, so let us discuss all those things in the day by day sessions. So tomorrow, let us start understanding this introduction to cloud computing. Tomorrow, I'll explain the rest of the course content. You can see it in our Durga Soft website as well. Once after this course content explanation is done, then let us start our AWS with the introduction to cloud computing. That's all from my side, folks. Now you can ask me the questions, whatever you have. Yeah, you can ask me the questions, whatever you have. I'm just reading through these comments you have done. Sumanta Bhattacharya, I might have given the answer about the static API. Terraform, Terraform, Prometheus, that is what I already have covered, I believe, right? Meaning the course content is there with the Terraform, but not Terraform complete course. Terraform complete course itself will take a 45 days of time. So this Terraform, I have added here the Terraform, whichever the knowledge, whatever the knowledge is required for a DevOps engineer, till that I have added here. But Terraform itself is a huge concept. It's a separate course like your AWS. Entire Terraform understanding in a single session is not possible. So, but whatever the Terraform content is required for the automation, that content I was provided here. This is very good enough to start your interviews and then gain your interviews on the Terraform, and also very good enough to work with the um, automation, like whatever the projects we have nowadays. However, any questions?
Sir, is it Ansible or Chef?
It is Ansible, not Chef. Chef,
Okay,
there is a proper reason why we are not going for the Chef and then the Nagios. So in the place of Chef, we will use Ansible. In the place of Nagios, we will use the Grafana and then Prometheus to monitor the applications. To monitor the, I'll explain maybe
sure,
in
sir.
couple
Thank
of
you.
minutes. Yeah. What's the difference between traditional apps versus the DevOps? How much experience would have gained after this course? Vishal, I already have told, but let me repeat this. Traditional ops versus DevOps. DevOps is a traditional apps will use the deployment process, right? ITL process they will use. ITL process. Traditional operation guys will use the ITL process. That ITL process, guys, can you please mute? You can ask your questions once after I'm done answering. Thank you. So traditional apps will use the ITL process, which is very, very delay in deploying the applications to the cloud because a lot of process involved there. So the application development will be very faster, but the application deployment is very slow to address that problem that DevOps will use. That is what. And then how much experience would I have gained after this course? So knowledge talking about. So the knowledge what you gain is up to the 5 years of experience guy have how much knowledge in automation, meaning DevOps tools, CI/CD pipeline configuration. That much of knowledge you will get if you properly follow me, properly practice since beginning. Okay, sir, we can work on Mac OS. No, actually, I will take the Ubuntu operating system, not macOS. Ubuntu operating system. Then some other have asked, we will have classes on weekend also. Saturday we will have the class, but Sunday no classes. No classes on Sunday, but Saturday we will have the class. And then will you provide the required softwares like Linux OS, Docker, Kubernetes? We are using the cloud, right? So we everything we will install in the cloud itself only. No need to keep any software in your local machine. Everything we will maintain inside the cloud only. We will download from the cloud repositories. No need to keep like in your laptop, downloading and then keeping in your laptop. No, not required. Everything we will set up in the cloud itself only by downloading the required softwares from the cloud repositories. Okay, so I no need to provide you the required softwares. Rather, we will discuss how we can set it up on the cloud. Right, if we learn this, can we also try GCP and parallel on our own? Yes, you can try. You can easily try GCP parallelly. Okay, that's all folks. Hopefully, sir, can you tell me something about the jobs in market for DevOps? Yeah, definitely. Tomorrow I will explain the DevOps job scopes, salaries and all we will discuss tomorrow. Right, so your new AWS 8 p.m. batches for 45 days. Here at DevOps with AWS, will you be covering the same topics? No, in the 8 p.m. AWS, whatever the course content is there, the same course content is also covering here, but DevOps is an extra here, right? DevOps with AWS DevOps with AWS will cover the same AWS concept that I am discussing at the 8 p.m. Sir, we have daily 1 hour class. Yes, we have daily 1 hour class plus 15 minutes of the general discussion. The general discussion may be your doubts, maybe doubts clarification, maybe any other. 1 hour is exactly the class. 15 minutes is the general discussion. So 1 hour, 15 minutes is our class time. Right. Thank you so much, folks. Sir, how depth is the Docker and Kubernetes? So Docker and Kubernetes, you will be able to crack the certifications. I will explain when the Docker and Kubernetes will come, what are all the certifications available and how to crack them. The concepts, whatever you will learn here, will be good enough to crack the Docker and Kubernetes certifications as well. So the beginner certifications we can easily crack. Any other questions?
Hi, sir.
Yes.
Actually, I'm 2015 passed out, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, present I'm working in manufacturing sector.
Okay.
Okay, I want to move to IT sector, sir.
Okay. So yes, definitely this DevOps will be the right course, but you have to do a lot of hard work, lot of practice you have to do every day because you are from the different background.
Yes.
Definitely this is the right course. You can opt for this.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow at the same time. That is 9 a.m. IST. And let us discuss more about our course tomorrow. And then I'll give the job scope and then job opportunities tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Thanks. Hello all. Very good morning. Thanks for joining the demo 3 session. Let me share my screen. Okay. So in the last week, week we discussed about the DevOps jobs and then the how the market is there for the DevOps with AWS in fact, and we even have seen um, the DevOps uh, the salaries of a DevOps engineer is what we have seen, isn't it? Today I told let us do the market analysis, and then let us list out the tools that we have to focus link the DevOps and also the cloud that we have to choose to go ahead and then get the job opportunities. So this is the third demo, right? So we need to discuss about uh, basically what a DevOps engineer is, and who can become the DevOps engineer, and roadmap to becoming a DevOps engineer, right? So what are all the concepts that you have to focus on, and what are the concepts that the industry is looking for? So those are all the things let us discuss today, right? So in order to become a DevOps engineer, what you have to learn, what you have to focus. First, let us go and then understand what is expecting by the market for a DevOps engineer. So that is very important actually. From a DevOps engineer, what it is expecting. So DevOps market is what we have seen how the DevOps market is. First of all, who is a DevOps engineer? Okay, who is a DevOps engineer? A DevOps engineer can be anyone. Who is a DevOps engineer? A DevOps engineer can be anyone. Is an IT professional who works with the software developers, system operators, and other product IT staff to administer code releases. So DevOps engineer is what? DevOps engineer is an IT professional who works with the other teams like developers, system operators, other product IT team, operations team to have the build releases. What is build release? For now, you assume the build release meaning making an application available in a Play Store. Usually, you will go to your mobile Play Store and then download the applications, right? So when you type an application, for example, you type an application called SBI Net Banking, then you can see a number of applications which are related to SBI. That means what? The application is available for you to use by downloading it. So how the application came to Play Store? Someone might have been uploaded the application to the Play Store. That is called as release, right? The process of making an application available to the end customer is called what? The release. Who will do these releases? Earlier, there is a team called operations. That operations team is used to do the build releases. But now, who is doing the build releases? The DevOps engineers will do the build releases. You got it right? The build release meaning making an application is available to the end customers like you and me. That is called what? The build release. So, who is a DevOps engineer? Who is a who is a DevOps engineer? Who is a DevOps engineer? So this is first we need to understand the concepts, right? Who is a DevOps engineer? So DevOps engineer is an IT professional. DevOps engineer is an IT professional who will collaborate with the other teams like development, testing, networking, operations, right? So with these teams, the DevOps engineer is what will establish a collaboration with these teams. The DevOps engineer will establish the collaboration for why? For why is for the application build release. So with these teams, the DevOps engineer will do a collaboration for why? For the application build releases. Application build releases, right? So earlier the IT companies have the earlier the IT companies have the networking and operations team to do these build releases. Now it's the responsibility of the DevOps engineer to do the build releases. Now, what is build release? What is build release? So, build release is a process of making the application available to the end customers usage. So build release is a process of making an application available to the end customers usage. For example, for example, making an making an app available in Play Store for the Play Store users to download it and use, isn't it? So that is what a build release. For example, making an app available in the mobile Play Store, mobile Play Store for the Play Store users to download it and use. That is called as build release. So similar way, it is the process of making the application available to the end customers usage. Such build releases the DevOps engineer should have to do. So DevOps engineer is an IT professional who will collaborate with the other teams like development, testing, networking, and then operations, right? Networking and then operations for the build releases. Earlier, the IT companies have the network and then operations team to do this build releases. Now it is the responsibility of the DevOps engineer to do the build releases. Now, how the DevOps engineer is different from this network and then operations team guy. So going forward, I'll explain about this as this is the very basic, beginner sessions. I may not go in depth of the discussion. Let me slowly travel you through your roles and responsibilities, what you can do, what you have to learn and all. Then we will start understanding the actual concept of the DevOps. Fine. Now, this is what about the DevOps engineer, what he can do. And what the DevOps engineer, just let me go ahead and just let me close. Yes. So this is what, who is a DevOps engineer. So a DevOps engineer will speak to other department, isn't it? Now, what are all the roles, responsibilities, and skills of a DevOps engineer? So DevOps engineers full work full time. They are responsible for the production and ongoing maintenance of the applications platform. For example, Play Store, you are uploading an application to the Play Store, assume, and the customers are using it. Many customers have reported like, the application is hanging or they are not able to log into the application. or they are not able to register into the application. So lot of issues they are reporting. Then the DevOps engineer should have to be take that responsibility of solving the issues of the customers by by knowing the development team that the issues are there in the build that they have released. Maybe you have not understood, right? What I am saying is basically, what I'm meaning is, let us let me try to explain you the meaning or the responsibilities of a DevOps engineer. Very important, and this is a damn sure question in your interview. A damn sure question. What is your day-to-day roles and then responsibilities? That is a damn sure question for a DevOps engineer. So what a DevOps engineer will do? First, we have the developers. So these guys are called as the developers. So these developers, just let me, I think we already have drafted the diagrams. So these developers will push the code to a source code repository. And from there, the automation will takes place, and then deploy the applications into the finally the servers. Who set up this automation? The DevOps engineers were done the setup of these automations. Finally, the customers will use the application from where? The customers will use the applications from from the server, or assume from the Play Store the customers are using this application, right? So this application is not up to the desired state now, having a lot of issues. Then who will be responsible for the taking that issues? So DevOps engineers are the responsibility persons to take that issues, and then the DevOps engineers will mitigate that issues, or transfer that issues to the developers by checking, is there any, guys, can you please mute? By checking, is there any issues in the pipeline that they were set up. So this is the pipeline that the DevOps engineers will do the setup, right? First, they will check whether any issues in the pipeline or not. If there is no issues in the pipeline, then they will leverage it to the developers. So the responsibility of a DevOps engineer is to maintain the application, maintain the application. So ongoing application, what which is already using by the customers now in the production, that application's maintenance will be the responsibility of a DevOps engineer. So what is the other responsibility should be? Following are the expected roles, responsibilities, and skills that is expected from a DevOps engineer. Able to perform the system troubleshooting and problem solving across platform and application domains. Don't worry by looking into this, a big sentence. Able to perform system troubleshooting and problem solving. What is this meaning? The DevOps engineers will set up a pipeline, isn't it? What is the pipeline? Sorry, this is other institute. When I was in other institute, this is the content I have delivered. So I just would like to go to my, the current institute content. So let me go to this DevOps content and just go here, scroll down. Yes, if you can see, this is what is my current content in this institute. So scroll down. Yes. So this is the pipeline that we will set up. This is the pipeline that we will set up. So what is the first statement? What is the responsibility of a DevOps engineer? So the responsibility of the DevOps engineer is to trouble, troubleshoot the system and having the problem solving skills. It's talking about this one. In this pipeline, if any issues will come, you have to resolve. Why? Because the developer code is available to the end customers. Let me copy this diagram, go here, and then paste it as it is here, resize. So this is what the our flow. Now end customers will access the application. The end customers will access the application which is now running here. So they will access the application which is now running here actually, this Kubernetes one. So which is running inside that Kubernetes. Now the end users will access it. So now who is facing the issues? These end users are facing the issues, isn't it? They have downloaded the application from the Play Store for a while, assume, and then they are trying to log into the system, but they are facing the issues, login issues or registration issues. So being a DevOps engineer, first you should be analyze where the issue is coming. Is it coming inside the pipeline? Because we are deploying the application as a Kubernetes application. So DevOps engineer should have a good problem solving skill on the Kubernetes. That means a good understanding of the Kubernetes. And if any issues are coming inside this Kubernetes, meaning if our application is facing issues in the Kubernetes cluster, we should be able to solve it. Assume there are famous exceptions which are coming in the Kubernetes. Ask in your interview also they will ask back image pull off, back image pull off. So when I was interview the candidates, I definitely ask this question: what is the back image pull off status meaning? This question I will definitely ask them. Assume this exception we got in this Kubernetes cluster. So being a DevOps engineer, you should be able to solve the problem why this back image pull off exception is coming. So that is what the solving skill that the DevOps engineer should have, but not the data structures or not the coding or nothing. Because being a DevOps engineer, we never touch the code. We don't want anything with the code. We don't want to do anything with the code.
Sir, I
Altogether,
have a
what
doubt.
we will do, whatever the code that the yes, go ahead, please.
Sir,
Go ahead.
back image pull off and is different from image pull back off.
Both are same actually. Maybe I was written it as a type image, yeah, no, actually image back pull off. This is the right word. So image back pull off.
Image
So
pull
the
back off.
right word. This is the right word. Correct. Image pull back off. Image pull back off. So this is the issue we will get. Correct. Image pull back off is the right word. So this is the issue we will get right in the Kubernetes cluster when the image is downloading is probably not correct. Our image downloaded maybe to execute that image, the relevant permissions or relevant data is not there. So the region with the images which are not able to run in this Kubernetes cluster will get this exception image pull back off. And then sometimes here we also will get the 401 401 uh, access denied, access denied, and we will get 403 unauthorized. These are the exceptions that we will get, famous exceptions that we will get inside the Kubernetes clusters. So being a DevOps engineer, we should be able to solve these issues. For example, 401, 403 related to image pull secrets. There is a concept called image pull secrets, right? So you have to know the concept of this one, then you will be able to solve the problems. That is the meaning of this DevOps engineer problem solving skills. Right. So manage a project effectively through open standards based platforms. So meaning manage project effectively through open and standards based platform. For example, here if we can take the project should have to be first verified through the quality gate, and here we also can add the code coverage tools. Of course, the Sonar Cube contains the code coverage tools. For example, if we can take the Python applications or Java applications, there is a tool called this Kobachura. This Kobachura tool will gives us the code coverage for the Python applications, Java applications, and all. So being a DevOps engineer, this Kobachura is what we have to set up in our pipeline somewhere here. So then what will happen once the code is building or the code has been built successfully, the code will be tested against this code coverage. Code coverage meaning, for example, developer were written 10 lines of code. That 10 lines of code is executing or not. Assume out of 10 lines or if only 4 lines executed. So it is just a 40%. So our build won't success. It should have to execute at least 8 lines or at least 6 lines or 7 lines. So then the build will become as a success. Such a tools, enterprise standard, industry standard tools we have to apply and then make sure the qualitative build will be released to the end users. So this is the responsibility of the DevOps engineer. This is one of the responsibility of the DevOps engineer. Likewise, if you can see the increase
Excuse
of
me, sir, a small doubt for me.
guys, can you please
Sorry to
mute?
interrupt you.
Yes, yes.
Sir, actually, how this DevOps can be linked to a cybersecurity, sir? Because I am working as cybersecurity analyst now. So how can be this linked, sir?
Okay.
This both?
Okay. Okay. So cyber security mean probably you will do the network level security, right? Maybe um,
Yes, sir, yes, sir. DLP,
maybe
data loss prevention.
vulnerabilities. So
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
vulnerabilities will be detected. OSP tools you will use. Yes. So here,
Yes, sir.
what we have to do, so here we have to integrate this pipeline with the these OASP tools kind, because the code once it is done, code once it
Okay.
is building, we have to analyze the code, like are there any vulnerabilities in the code. For example, the code has been written in such a way, or else the application is already built. Assume after application build, we have to perform the security testing here, which will gives us the results, like file uploading is happening, but file uploading is happening from anywhere. It should not be happening from the authorized devices, or
Okay.
maybe the cross protocol sharing is not possible, cars issues. Such a
Okay.
issues or maybe PSRF issues, right? Cross site
Okay.
security issues. So those
Yes, sir.
issues we have to check here after the code build is happened. So OASP tools integration here we have to do, and then perform the security testing along with the application functional testing.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Got it?
Thank you, sir. Got thank you, sir.
Fine. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, okay. Fine. Now, what we can do in our next responsibility? What is our next responsibility? So we have taken the responsibility of maintenance, and then problem solving, and then the open standards we can set up, and then increase the project visibility through traceability. Nowadays, the biggest problem that the performance engineers, DevOps engineers, security testing engineers are facing observability and traceability. The biggest problem is observability and traceability. I think this is the very beginning sessions, but I'm talking big words. But you just listen about those words. This is fact. Whenever you are attending the interview, you have to hear all these things. They will ask the question: being a DevOps engineer, how you have been maintain the traceability of the applications? What does it mean? What is the traceability? And what is the observability? So traceability meaning one application when talking to another application. So for example, let me showcase you this slide. In this slide, just let me go little down. No, here it is not. Let me open the one more slide. Just give me a moment. I would like to showcase you one thing. So in this slide, there were the microservices. See this: account microservice, loans microservice, cards microservice. Now, what is happening here? Accounts microservice is deploying through one build job. Loans microservice is deploying through one build job. Cards microservice is deploying through one build job. Now, what will happen? A account will call the loans. Account will call the cards. Account application will call the loans application. Accounts application will call the cards application to see a person's account having the how many loans and then how many cards the person have. Now in this, the account application is talking to or calling this loans and then cards application, right? So we have to trace, like, from where the call started, where it went, and from there where it went, and again how it come back and how it come back. So the complete trace of the a particular operation we have to see. So for that we need to maintain the traceability tools. So we have the Jipkin and then the sleuth. Not only this, we have the various other traceability tools as well. So that traceability tools we will use, and then we will monitor the applications. Monitoring is different, but the traceability is different. So for the traceability, Jipkin and then sleuth we will use. So that is as part of your session. Forget about water microservices now. This is the demo 3. Just forget about water microservices. Understand it as one application, just one application. Application meaning, for example, you are accessing your Facebook, Gmail, Google Drive, isn't it? Those are the applications. Forget about microservices now. So the applications, whatever need to communicate with other applications, isn't it? When you go to your net banking, when you log in your net banking, right? When you see your balance search, what is happening? It is pulling the accounts for you. You have a loan account, you have a credit card account. So which balance you would like to see? Just click on the credit card account, then it will show you the credit card balance. Click on the loan, it will show you the loan account and then the remaining balance to be paid. So that is how the applications will intercommunicate. So when the application to application communication will be there, how we will trace out that communication? So for that, we will use the Chipkin, Sleuth, and then other tools also we have in the market. But in our DevOps session course, we will use the Jipkin and then the Sleuth. So if you can see the final architecture, like the development architecture, final development architecture, what you have to deploy or what you have to automate is something like this. Let me just showcase Spring Boot microservices, content, not this one, architectural flows. So cloud architecture, this is what the cloud architecture you guys have to build. See this cloud architecture, how it is. You might now get a doubt, sir, are we really able to build it? Why not? We definitely will be able to build it. So here if you can see, there is a Jipkin server. So this Jipkin server will have a nice GUI dashboard where we can see the applications to applications traceability or communication in a nice UI format. So if you can see, each and every application have a sleuth added here. The sleuth is the component which will take the all the metrics from the application and then give it to this Jipkin. So it is acting as an agent between the application and then the Jipkin server, right? Just we need to tell to this agent where is the Jipkin server is. That's it. So it will collect the metrics from here and then dump the metrics to this Jipkin server. So this is what pure real time that you have to do in your DevOps with AWS course, because interviewers will ask you what are the complexities that you have faced and what are the ecosystem that you built and then released recently. So such questions when they will ask, if you tell them like I was automated the microservices architecture, if you tell them and if you justify what is microservices, how you automated it, what are the complexities complexities in it, and what are all the concepts you used. For example, multi-stage. In Jenkins, we will use a multi-stage build pipeline. So in microservices, to deploy these microservices, we have to use multi-stage build pipeline. So being a DevOps engineer, now you have to know how to create the multi-stage build pipelines, right? So that is what the experience, that is what the real experience that you will get. I mean, the interviewer is expecting from you. So the days gone, like what is Maven, what is Git, what is Jenkins, those days gone. Now everyone is expecting the practical implementation knowledge or experience. So the questions they are asking is can only be answerable when you work on it. That's it. That is the way they are asking the questions. For example, if I ask you a question, what is pipeline as a code and how we can achieve the multi-stage pipeline using this pipeline as a code? Whenever I ask this question, probably I was asked this question around 30 to 40 members, but only 5 to 6 members got given an answer which I will satisfy, which I was satisfied, right? They only 5 to 6 persons were given the answers which I was satisfied, and remaining persons got explained something which is somehow relevant and somehow irrelevant. Okay, so this is how the expectation of the market. So now the what are the responsibilities that the DevOps engineer, traceability is one of the biggest responsibility, like how we can increase the project visibility through the traceability. So you have to attach the traceability tools like Jipkin, Sleuth, and then the other tools, Upscrews, or some other tools were there. Paid tools, commercial tools, Datadog, which is commercial tool. So Datadog, Upscrews are commercial tools, and then the Jipkin, Sleuth are the open source tools. So you have to explain to the interviewer, or else if your application don't have the traceability and your manager asked you to add the traceability, then you should have a prior knowledge on it, right? Otherwise you may not be able to do that task. However, next, improve quality and reduce development cost with collaboration. So that is the next responsibility of a DevOps engineer. So we have to improve the quality of the application and reduce the development cost with collaboration. You have to talk to developers with the collaboration. Guys, can you please?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes, yes. Go ahead, please.
so actually, I joined actually this class after 20 minutes. So my question is, like you said, like DevOps engineer will reduce the cost of development. How is that possible, sir?
No, no. What that is what now I'm trying to explain.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So now reduce the development cost with collaboration. What does it mean? Here development cost in the sense not in terms of money. Development cost in the sense in terms of the time, not money, not the revenue or not money. Development cost in the sense that development time or the development resources time and then development resources availability. So improve quality. For example, here is the pipeline that we have. This is the pipeline that we have. So in this pipeline, assume the build is failing because of the test cases were not passed successfully. Earlier, what we used to do, we used to take a big screenshot. We used to write an email to the developers, entire development team. So this is the issues we are getting in production, or maybe the build is not success. While I'm trying to release a build to the production, the build is not success. So a lot of information we have attached, and then we will send an email. Don't know when the developer or when the development team will look at it, because they are usually busy in the development. So we usually wait for their reply, right? So that is what wastage of the time. Rather you directly talk to them, go and then collaborate with them. If you have his mobile number, talk to him. If you has you both are sitting together in the team, yes, go ahead and then talk to the development team. No formalities. Make the work as improved as with the quality. No formalities. Sending an email is just a formality, just as a proof. The people will send the email for the proof of, if something happened later in time, they can showcase this as a proof. Yes, send an email, but don't wait for the developer's response. Go there and then talk to them first, right? So that is what the reducing the development cost, meaning here the reducing development cost in the sense what? For example, in order to write the test cases, or in order to automate the test cases, or assume, in order to quality, improve the quality of the code, maybe we will assign the developers, right, who will follow the coding standards and then write the code, right? So that might increase the development cost by adding the resources. So we have the tools which will perform the application quality checking, and if the quality is not good, then we can revert it back to the developers. So just for quality checking, no need to hire any engineer. So we can do it through the tool. So that is where we can reduce the development cost in terms of the time, in terms of the resource allocations. Got it? Am I make sense? Yes. Okay. Now let us go to the next responsibility. What might be? Improve quality, yeah. Analyze, design, and evaluate automation scripts and then systems. So we have to analyze, we have to design, and then we have to evaluate the automation scripts. What does it mean? Automation script meaning what? So being a DevOps engineer, you will do the setup of this entire infrastructure like Docker setup, Kubernetes setup, Ansible setup, Jenkins, SonarQube, JFrog. All this setup you will do by spending a 3 months, 2 months, 1 month of time. Assume. Once you successfully done its setup, then while setting the same for the other environment, you no need to take that much of time. Just 1 month you spend to build this pipeline. The same pipeline in order to set up in the other environments, it should have to take just 1 hour, or it should have to take just 30 minutes. What happened? One month you spend the time to set up this CI/CD pipeline for one environment. Once after this is set up successfully, now in order to do the same setup in another environment, you are saying 1 hour time it will take. 1 month effort reduced to 1 hour. How this has been? Because we were created the scripts here. Every step to set up the Jenkins, we have created one script. To set up the Ansible, we have created one script. While it is setting up in the development environment, we have written the script and then we have set it up. We tested it. Now we have the scripts available. All the scripts are available. After spending 1 month, 2 months of time, we have the scripts now to set up this entire pipeline. Assume Terraform scripts, right? Assume Terraform scripts will do the infrastructure setup. So now the scripts are ready. Execute those scripts. The scripts will execute for maybe an hour, but those will give you the same architecture setup in the next environments. So
So
the
I have a
DevOps
question here.
engineer should be able to, yes, yes,
So, sir, you said script. That means like suppose whenever I need to install a Node.js platform in a AWS Lightsail or S3.
mm,
So in that case, like we
mm,
just need to like run the script and it will be installed. Suppose we need to run the load balancer, then we have to do the same. Like, is that right?
correct. Yes,
So
yes,
for that,
correct,
like
correct.
we need to write
So
the
let
script
me
once.
showcase the samples. Correct, correct, correct. For
So for
example,
that, we
see
need to
this.
write the script once, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we need to write the scripts once and then execute it in any environment, any number of times. For example, I am now showcasing you one script. So this is one script. So which is setting up the Kubernetes cluster for us. See this. It will set up the Kubernetes cluster. So what we can do, we just can run this script in any of the platform, like no matter it is AWS or GCP or the Azure, no matter whatever the cloud it is, you just take one virtual machine from the cloud and then run this script. It will set up the Kubernetes for us. Likewise, the scripts will automate the system more. Got it? Yes. So
Yes, sir.
that is what the meaning of this. Yeah, that is. Huh, okay, fine. So now let us go and then see the next responsibility. So ensuring critical resolution of system issues by using the best cloud security solution services. So this is what ensuring the critical resolution of the system issues by using the best cloud security solution services. So being a DevOps engineer, everyone should have to know one cloud compulsory. One cloud we should have to know compulsory. So this entire ecosystem, whatever we are doing, right, we will build in the cloud. Let us say AWS will take. So when we build in the cloud, lot of things will come into our picture, like security and all. So our application should have to be on the load balancer. For example, here is the application, right? Let me check the load balancer. So the users are accessing the application, isn't it? So the user should have to be access the application via a load balancer. This load balancer should have to be set up with the SSL certificates. This load balancer should have to set up with the SSL certificate. So this is the SSL certificates, meaning secure communication, meaning encrypted communication. Now one should have to know how to set up the SSL at the LB. What is LB? How to configure the load balancer to our application? How to set up the LB? SSL termination. We called it as SSL termination at the load balancer level. So the end customers will come to our application from the URL called https https vshopify vshopify um, slash my orders. So vshopify.com is what our application. So vshopify.com slash my orders. So this is the URL the end user will hit in the browser. When the end user will hit in the browser, the HTTPS protocol. So this will come to our load balancer. Load balancer will verify whatever the certificate that the load balancer have is the same as that of the certificate that is coming from this request. If both are same, then the LB will allow the call to our application. If both are not same, LB will terminate the request here itself only. So here, why I'm explaining this concept? Because of the security setup, like load balancer setup and then SSL setup with the load balancer. This is the responsibility of a DevOps engineer, and most of the DevOps engineers will face the problems here because no one will teach them, no one nowhere they will learn, and then once they go to real work, they will face a lot of struggles here to set it up here. So we have to do that. Actually, we will do in our here in this course. However, so that is one more thing. Second one is the in this pipeline, as I told, the code security testing should have to be happened with some security testing tools. So being a DevOps engineer, we have to also embed the security tools in our pipeline. Guys, can you please mute? So we have to also include or also add the security tools as part of our pipeline to test the security also, like cross origin issues, like session stealing issues, CSRF issues. uh, Guys, can you please mute? I think my voice is echoing.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, so those are the issues that we have to solve using our setup, our CI/CD pipeline setup. However, what are the next responsibilities? DevOps engineer should have the soft skill of problem solve and then quick learner. So this soft skill of problem solving and then the quick learner is the definitely mandatory skill. Nowadays, quick learning is not a problem actually. For example, if your manager asked you to check how we can integrate the Selenium with our pipeline. Assume your manager given a task to you to integrate the Selenium with our Jenkins pipeline. If that is the task given by your manager, it should not take much time for you to learn. Of course, nowadays we have a lot of stuff available in the internet. So learning capability should be there because being a DevOps engineer, we might applications. Maybe one project is on Java, another project is on .NET, another project is on React.js, one more project is on the Python. We don't know. Meaning, we should not know the technology, but we should have to know the integration techniques. So that is the reason DevOps engineer should have a quick learning capability. So that is one of the job role, responsibility or expectation by the industry. Right? So how my course will help with respect to these jobs, roles and responsibilities. So traceability, almost all the things I will cover here, except OSP tools integration, because it is a little complex process for us. But that security assessment tools integration is may not be covered in this course, but almost all the industry expectations will be covered in this course. Like how do you automate the microservices applications, Python applications, Java applications, React.js applications, Node.js applications. All those things you will see in this course. And in-depth concept of pipeline, like multi-stage pipelines, pipeline as a code, right? And then the a lot of concepts like the Jenkins security, role-based access control, and all those things you will learn in this pipeline maintenance. Okay, so what are the tools that you have to learn actually to become a DevOps engineer or to become a to get the job? So what is DevOps? I will explain maybe later on time. And but what are the things that we need to learn to become a DevOps engineer is what we have to see now. So just let me go here. What are all the things that we need to learn? So what are the tasks of a DevOps engineer? So DevOps engineer should have to design, build, test, and deploy scalable distributed systems from development through production. So design meaning what? You have to design the pipeline. Design meaning design the pipeline. That means this is the design of the pipeline. So like that, you guys should be able to design the pipelines. Yes, please. Yeah, whatever the doubts you have, please ask your doubts at the end of the session. I will give some time. Yes. In the middle, if you ask, we are deviating, isn't it? Fine. Now, what I mean to say is the tasks of a DevOps engineer. So design, build, test, and deploy scalable distributed systems from development to production. That means what? Each and every DevOps engineer should be capable of setting up the CI/CD pipeline from the very scratch, from the continuous integration to continuous deployment. Scalable distributed system. The word scalable distributed system is what? For example, Kubernetes, if we can take, that is the scalable distributed architecture of the system. There is no Kubernetes. Assume there is a EC2 machines, AWS EC2 machines. So how do we scale them? Auto scaling, auto scalers. We have to write the scripts to auto scale them. Distribute the application to one or more machines using the load balancers. So that is what the DevOps engineers task. That means what? DevOps engineer should have to know one cloud mandatory. So networking concepts, load balancer concepts, SSL concepts, that means security concepts, and what is that? Replication concepts. So all these concepts the DevOps engineer should have to be know, and end to end, being a DevOps engineer should be able to do. That is the first task. Day to day we will do this. And manage the code repositories such as Git, SV, and Bitbucket, including code merging and integration, branching and maintenance, and remote repository management. Usually, this is not the responsibility or task of a DevOps engineer. So this is the task and the responsibility of the concerned developers. But what we will do, we should be have the enough knowledge in taking the code from the source code repository into our pipeline. We should have the enough knowledge to take the source code from the source code repositories to our pipeline. So how many ways, for example, pull mechanism, push mechanism, poll mechanism that we have in the Jenkins? What are the meanings of it? What are the benefits of it? What are the pitfalls of it? How effectively or how quickly, how fast I can get the code onto our Jenkins machine. So these are all the things that should have to know. So that is what management of the code repository is not our responsibility, in fact. But when the code merging is done by the developers, that merged code should have to be take into our pipeline. That is where we have to concentrate and then focus on. Okay, so here you're gonna do a 5 to 6 projects actually. In 5 to 6 projects, if I just go and then showcase you this 5 to 6 projects, just let me, not this one. Quickly, let me go and then showcase you those projects. So this is the project one. So this is the project one that you're gonna do. In this project one, what we are doing, and then the project two is what we will do. So this is the project two, and likewise we have the project three, project four, project five. So I'll explain tomorrow. So in those projects, your day-to-day tasks will be covered. Whatever the DevOps engineers day-to-day tasks we are now discussing here, right? Those day-to-day tasks I will explain will be covered in that. I'll explain how it will be covered in that 5 projects tomorrow. And also tomorrow, let us see what are all the tools that you should have to learn. What a DevOps engineer, how to become a DevOps engineer is what let us see tomorrow. By going through the DevOps engineer tasks, day-to-day duties, by going through it, and then tomorrow also we can spend who can become a DevOps engineer, how can become a DevOps engineer, and roadmap for becoming a DevOps engineer. So within the next 2 demos, we will complete till here, and then let us start our classes from after this 2 demos. Probably today is Monday, right? Maybe from Thursday onwards, let us start our DevOps with AWS sessions. But before that time, everyone should have to know how to become a DevOps engineer. What are the tools you have to know, and what is the industry is expecting. Any questions for me? That's all from my side. That's all from my side, folks. Any
Hello,
questions
sir.
for me? Yes.
Hello, sir. This is Biplav. So my question is, just before you shared, like DevOps engineer has a role of implementing source codes into pipeline. So basically, what is that? Like, which source code we need to implement in pipeline?
Uh, so, for example, you are assigned to a project. Can you mute? I will because my
Yes.
voice is echoing. Please mute. Please mute.